Before we get started, a quick note. This conversation was originally recorded on May 28, 2025, during last year's I-90 Aerospace Corridor Conference. My guest today is Mark Norton, Executive Director of the Northwest I-90 Manufacturing Alliance, or NIMA, an organization that's helping connect and strengthen one of the most important manufacturing and innovation corridors in the Northwest. In this conversation, Mark talks about how the region stretching from eastern Washington through North Idaho and into Montana has quietly become a hub for advanced manufacturing, aerospace, and medical device innovation. We also discuss the importance of workforce development, the role of universities and community colleges, and why collaboration across industries is essential to the region's future. And if this topic interests you, this year's I-90 Aerospace Corridor Conference will take place May 26th and 27th at the Coeur Resort. I'm Bill Kalivas, and this is the Launchpad Innovators Podcast. Let's go. All right, we're here with Mark Norton, Executive Director of NIMA. Mark, tell us a little bit about your role at NIMA. Tell us about this great event.
Sure.
And what else you have going on today.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Appreciate you having me. So I'm the Executive Director for the Northwest I-90 Manufacturing Alliance. And we are essentially an industry group focused around advanced manufacturing. That our membership includes about 80 different organizations now. A lot of them are manufacturing companies, but because of what we do to help develop industry, we have partners in academia, partners like yourself, other kind of development organizations around expanding business, really. And our regional coverage is not just within kind of Spokane, Eastern Washington, but we go all across, really from Yakima over to Bozeman.
Wow.
And the focus is growing manufacturing, and I know we're going to talk about some of these, but that's everything that pertains. It's workforce, it's talent development, it's helping manufacturers get compliance to come into new markets, that kind of thing.
That's amazing. Yeah, and you and I have gotten to know each other over the last, year or two, and
yeah.
You've been an incredible partner, and you're really plugged into what's going on in not only advanced manufacturing, but aerospace, medical devices, things like that, which it's been refreshing just to see how much is actually happening here.
Yeah.
And can you talk about that a little bit? Like you
Sure.
sort of you're on the front lines of really what's happening, and when you think of this region, I don't think people realize how much advanced manufacturing, aerospace suppliers, medical. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the partnership, of course, too. I think a lot of people are unaware of the manufacturing infrastructure we have here. I think the last report by GSI are around 8 to 9% of the total, revenue economy here in the region. But it's been growing, I think, faster than just about any other segment, which is a good sign for the future. And I'd say the main areas we have here, we are primarily contract manufacturers. So to make that differentiation, what we consider an OEM, original equipment,
Yep.
this jargon, right?
Yep.
But those people that make their own products, right, and sell them directly into the market. Most of our manufacturers are folks making parts for those types of companies, right?
Gotcha.
But it can be very sophisticated in terms of the types of manufacturing capabilities. We have just about everything: sheet metal, electronics, injection molding, coating, fabrication, assembly, PCB, electronic stuff. So we have really pretty close to complete supply chain for companies that may consider relocating here, right? We can say, hey, we can do everything within this kind of Spokane, Coeur d'Alene radius, right?
Sure. So talk a little bit about NIMA's role in doing that. Talk a little bit about what your role is in sort of building this alliance of all the advanced manufacturing, aerospace, and the partnerships. But let's say GSI or other economic development groups, Coeur d'Alene,
Right.
They're looking at recruiting a business here that needs that sort of proximity or actually does part of the supply chain manufacturing. What's NIMA's role in that process?
We're kind of a facilitator and a connector,
Okay.
right? So I think I shared with you our event that we're doing right now is a joint venture between us and the Coeur d'Alene Chamber. This is our 10th year of doing that, so very strong collaboration. We don't look at state borders. We look at the trading region, right? And we all know we have tons of people going back and forth between both areas for jobs. So if you can help with the company in either one of those areas, it's going to be economically good for everybody.
You bet.
So our job is really to come alongside, say we'll be talking to a company, and either Coeur d'Alene or GSR or people like that are looking to recruit a manufacturer, and we come in and we can talk about, tell me what your needs are. What do you need in the supply chain? Okay, talk to this guy. We make those connections. And also I think I've heard from some people that have come here and relocated, it's like, this community has been so welcoming, and people have just worked as a team.
Right.
And that's really, that's what we want to do. And even down, into workforce, whether it's workforce development, whether it's supply chain people, whether it's technical expertise, or partner with community colleges for job training, all that stuff.
Yeah, you touched on job training. That's where I was going next in my mind. Was there's so much talk about young people, right? What careers they can go into, and so many are not, especially young men, not choosing to go to college,
right?
For various reasons.
Right.
But can you talk a little bit about some of the efforts locally, which I've talked to a few of these folks that are really focused on STEM and also the trades, and helping young people be introduced to some of these areas? Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's been a big focus for us. I did the 2023 report for the Washington Legislature for Aerospace and Aviation, and workforce was a big piece of that study. And we looked at best practices across the whole country. What states are really doing a good job of starting that pipeline of talent early. And one of the key things is you have to start in K-12. You can't wait till somebody's a senior in high school, right?
Right.
So one of the things, we've done several things. We helped fund the new kind of trades training program at West Valley a couple years ago. We got a grant from the state, and we're able to go in and completely gut that. And now students, they can learn welding, they can learn CNC machining, they can learn 3D printing, CAD, all that, right? And that is the critical piece, and we want to keep drilling down. Ideally, I think we need to start in junior high. And I look at it as career exploration, right? So we're not just, we definitely want them to be exposed to manufacturing, but just these students, if you wait till they're a senior, they've never been in any of these areas, they don't really know what they want to do.
Right.
But they get into college and spend a bunch of money, and 2 years into it, they're like, this isn't kind of what I thought it was, right?
Right.
So if we can start that career exploration much earlier, and then they're like, they can do it. They can start, and we see it all the time, right? High school people are like, oh, I love to weld, I love to machine, I love to do this, right? Then they're graduating, and they have a clear vision of where they want to go.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I heard a story nationally that there was a high school students making 70, 80K coming out of high school, working for companies that, if they have a welding certificate and they have experience, demonstratable experience, and it's brilliant, because so many students are sort of not really sure if they want to go to a 4-year school or even a 2-year school, and these trades are just such an interesting opportunity, especially with so many people my age that are retiring. You're way younger than me. You wouldn't know anything about that. But I'm excited for that. I really am. I'm excited for the options. And I met so many people here at this conference already that were talking to me about workforce development down into K-12, like you said, STEM, but also the trades. I'm really thrilled to see that, Mark. It's really cool.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the numbers. College enrollment's declining, particularly among young men, unfortunately. And unfortunately, for years in this country, we kind of had a narrative about manufacturing jobs, right? Like you're in a dirty, dingy factory. It's kind of a second-class path, all that. That is not the case now. I'd say most of our members, you could eat off the floor in the factories when you go into those.
Right.
And they're using AI, computers, really robust quality systems.
This is not your grandfather's manufacturing job, right?
No, this is not putting a nut on a stud on a tire all day long.
Nothing against the greatest generation.
No.
Obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is, using computer technology, all sorts of stuff, and that's only going to continue, right, Bill?
Right.
We know technology is changing so fast, so it's a continual learning path. They're not going to be able to get bored because it changes so often.
So let's talk about how our region's equipped to be a leader in creating all these opportunities, not just for young people, but maybe people that want to cross-train, that are ready for something that's a little more stable, and not AI, at risk of AI taking their job. That's men and women. How is our region set up to start to really offer those kind of opportunities going forward?
Well, it's a great question. I think one of the things that I'm seeing more and more, which is very encouraging, community colleges just hired a new VP of Workforce Development. And she came to us from Michigan, and what she did there was develop this talent pipeline into the automobile industry, right?
Okay.
So we're partnering with them. To your point, you have adults in transition, because the two target demographics are young people, graduating. But that 20 to 30 age bracket, surprisingly, there's a lot of people who've just been kind of drifting.
Right.
And we want to capture them and help retrain them.
Right.
And working with some of the community colleges and other organizations, what we're trying to do is enable them to still work, because most of them can't just quit and go to school.
Right.
So they can work, and they do part-time kind of night classes and kind of a certificate, what we call stackable credentials. So you learn one little module of, say, the job you're looking for, and then you're in the next one, you do it in stages, so you can still maintain your life, you can still pay your bills, but you can be building that, that resume.
Sure.
When you get all the way through, now you can make a step change in your job and hopefully in your income.
Yeah, have you heard, you've met with Eastern's group. Now I'm on the CSTEM advisory board. So I wouldn't call it bias. I'm just a big fan of what they're doing, and now the new Polytechnic direction. It really is starting to lead more towards offering unique choices to people that don't want to do the full traditional, more towards a career development training, a professional development. So I'm starting to see that demand is starting to lead to new programs. And our region's stepping up, and not only in Spokane, but North Idaho, with some of the stuff. I just saw some of the discussion around what Dr. Shovik's doing with University of Idaho. So between Eastern, WSU, Community College Spokane, U of I think we're doing great as far as coming up with curriculum. Now it's a matter of how do we start really telling the story of what your organization is doing, what this region has to offer. I think if we do that, amazing things are going to, kind of shock us maybe, and how much more we can help people find those kind of jobs, right?
Absolutely. And so partnering with universities, we're doing a lot of that. And part of it is just awareness and marketing. Right. Educators are great developing curriculum. They don't do so great. Sorry, anybody who's listening. They don't do so great at marketing and getting the messaging out. Yeah. And to me, that's one of the key areas is for parents to become aware that there's these options out there. Because they got to buy in as well as the kids. Right?
I mean, that's one of the reasons we wanted to do this podcast, and also talk about the partnerships with your organization and others. And you're a great partner that way. You're constantly connecting people. And it really always comes down to an introduction sometimes. Absolutely. That makes a big difference, right? Whether it's an individual looking for a job, or a partner, or business development, or really a company figuring out if they want to move here or not.
Exactly.
It's connected into that ecosystem, right? And you do a great job of that.
Oh, thanks. Well, that's partially what we're trying to do is, there's a lot of great people doing individual efforts, and I think I'm sure you see this, we have some great efforts going on everywhere, but sometimes they're not always connected.
Right.
And that we've got to do a better job at, right?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, we're doing our best to really create more of a stronger alliance between all the organizations. And we're starting to see more of that, though, and a willingness to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
So for those people that really don't know how to reach you and also how to get more information about NIMA, what's your website address, and if you want to share contact information or anything like that?
Sure. So our address is just NIMAalliance.org. It's NIMALLIANCE.org. So we don't have the two A's together, just to make it easier. So that's it, and you'll find lots of information on there on our conference. You can sign up for our newsletter, which we put out almost every week, and we highlight industry events in the area, STEM events, anything, in that ecosystem, even, your events.
Sure.
And so that's a great way to plug in. And you can look me up on LinkedIn. You can type Mark Norton, NIMA, in there, and you'll find my profile. Feel free to reach out.
And just to explain it all, NIMA stands for what again?
Northwest I-90 Manufacturing Alliance.
I always forget that part.
I know. It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
Yeah. And it used to be NWAC, right?
Yeah, we used to be the Inland Northwest Aerospace Consortium, and we were very, very tightly focused on aerospace.
Yeah.
And then I came on as board chair and became executive director. And I just started thinking about the region and what everybody's doing here. I also have a strong background in the medical industry.
Right.
And really, we're all facing the same challenges. No matter what market you're in, you're looking at trying to implement robotics, automation, the workforce piece. Those are common across all these kind of higher-end manufacturing companies.
And so what's the final thing you'd like to leave with people who watch this and are curious about what you do, but also curious about aerospace in the region, advanced manufacturing? We hear about we're going to bring manufacturing back to America, right? And all that kind of stuff. And obviously there's lots around aerospace happening. Are we being affected by some of those policies? Not to get too much into politics, but are you starting to see effects by some of that? And what can our region do to kind of make sure we're not affected negatively?
Yeah, that last question is probably the tough thing, because it's such at the federal level. We can talk to our elected officials. Definitely, we're going to see some impact on tariffs. The one issue I have with the current policy is they're talking about reshoring, which who doesn't want that? But we have two issues, particularly in industries like aerospace, where you have a highly regulated environment, and that includes your supply chain. You can't just switch overnight. That's like an 18-month process to do quality audits, all that stuff. So that's very slow. And the other challenges, I think you and I have talked about, that people haven't been talking about much, starting to more, is workforce. We're at 3% unemployment. And you want to double the manufacturing base in the U.S., that's just not going to happen overnight.
Is it true that I saw some statistics that there's already 5 million plus open jobs in manufacturing around the country?
Huge demand.
Now,
Huge demand, and that's only going to increase. And that probably is if you're at all interested in that, I'd say, reach out to us, talk to, just investigate.
You are finishing up your scavenger hunt form. You have about 10 minutes to turn it in.
That's what happens when you're live, right?
Thank God. Well, no, we're not live. That's the good news.
That's right.
We can edit that part.
Okay.
How we doing, Brennan? Are we okay?
We're doing good.
How much more time you got?
I get 10 more minutes.
Okay.
So we're good. Yeah. So what was the question again?
What do you think of Trump? I'm kidding. You're editing that part out, right?
We're going to get 50 likes and 50 hates, right?
50 hates. Yeah. No, let's not do that.
You were asking about manufacturing career type stuff?
I'm more interested in, there's a lot going on that's out of our control.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Federal and this reshoring. I mean, there's a lot. There's no way we're going to be able to just flip a switch and have all these manufacturing plants turned on and lots of people going to work there. However, with automation, I mean, there are some really cool opportunities, especially with local companies that are doing some interesting stuff, right? So the Inland Northwest, we have an opportunity to really be, I don't know if a leader is the right term, but at least one of those areas that could be interesting for people to move to, looking for employment in these spaces, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And here, I think one of the ones that's just starting to take off is the nuclear industry.
Right.
And down, in the Tri-Cities area and even over in Idaho, talking about the greater region here.
Yeah.
Small modular reactors, being former Google guy, right?
Yeah.
The power requirements for AI are just hard to almost grasp.
Yeah.
So we have to find new sources of energy, And definitely there's a movement here to try and make Eastern Washington, North Idaho kind of a hub
Right.
for building those SMRs for the future.
Right.
And your takeaway, as you said, right, we're short on workforce. Opportunities for careers in manufacturing are better than they've ever been.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm seeing some really interesting automation curriculum
Right.
in all the schools like you were talking about earlier. And it's just a sense of there's just so much happening here that's unknown.
Yes.
And when I moved back here in '99 from Silicon Valley, and we did our first Launchpad event, and we thought we'd get 150 people. 750 people showed up
Wow.
in all 3 TV stations.
Wow.
And we just had 20 entrepreneurs, like a much smaller version of this, in an empty building. And it kind of blew our minds. Like, there's all this entrepreneurial energy
Yes.
and this innovative
Yes.
thinking and ability and skills. There's a hidden innovation economy here.
Absolutely.
Skills, entrepreneurs, and
Right.
the people are gritty, and
Right.
they just make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's that same with our manufacturers and our aerospace companies, and they're just gritty because they have to work harder.
Yes.
I really believe that.
I think so too.
And so I think with your organization and the rest of us, I think we can start doing a better job of telling that story.
Yeah.
And like you just have so much knowledge of so many of these companies and these projects. It's great. How can we help you? How can Launchpad help you and NIMA move forward and continue to elevate, what the good work that you're doing?
Well, I appreciate that, and definitely these kinds of marketing things help. And we want to help Launchpad too. We want to, I've talked a bit. A challenge for entrepreneurs and innovators is usually that early stage, particularly
Yeah.
when you're manufacturing. Do you want to build 5 widgets, and the manufacturing company is like, hey, 500 is our minimum, right?
Right.
So how do you develop that system that they can still do that in some sort of cost-effective way?
Sure.
And then when they're starting to roll, now we can take you to the next level scaling of your business.
Yeah.
And I think that's a piece you and I have talked about. We're going to have to work on how we do that better so that that's not a limiting factor.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Our Springboard program has done a great job helping over 35 startups in the last 2 years. And you pressure test their ideas, and then you introduced professionals who have run those kind of companies, who've started those companies, or attorneys, you salespeople, sales executives that have built channels and have relationships that they can bring in, and all of a sudden you start to meet these people that already have pre-existing relationships.
Yeah.
You have all these partnerships that open up, and it accelerates the growth, but also pressure tests how viable their business idea is.
Right.
And it's that pure, mentoring and guidance and coaching that a lot of companies don't survive that.
Yes.
And in a way, I was taught early on, accelerate their failure as well as accelerating,
Absolutely.
the companies that have good ideas. And so that's a cool idea. I think that's something we could talk about, replicating that for manufacturing or for aerospace or whatever.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Anyway, those are great ideas. And I think more just promoting what you're doing and giving it and amplifying it.
We appreciate
initially.
that. Yeah.
And then as we see areas to partner, like with WTIA, Eastern Washington University, some of these other university programs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
great.
and we're always, like you, always looking for people who want to partner, have similar interests, and we're just stronger together than apart.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for being
Thanks,
here.
Bill.
Thanks for inviting us to come to the conference. We're going to have a few more interviews and stuff, but you've always been a great host and a good partner, so appreciate you. Anything else? Any last words?
No, just if you're not sure where to go in life, check out manufacturing.
Yeah. Love that. Awesome. Thanks, Mark.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
All right.